ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतेरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, so we're continuing chapter 5, Canto 1, chapter 5, verse 11. It's a very famous verse. Tadvag visargo janataka viplavo yasmin pratishlokamabadhavatyapi namanyanantasya shonkitani yatrinvanti gayanti grananti sadhavaha. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Hmm. Full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of name, fame, pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord. It's a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this misdirected civilization. So, any literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the Lord will bring about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So this indicates the significance or importance of distributing Srimad Bhagavatam to people, because it's going to bring about a revolution. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. So these are qualities of intelligent men. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. So what does a saint do? Saint is far above an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Because by broadcasting the holy name, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. Holy name and fame. So therefore, transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam have to be propagated. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously there were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world was God fearing. This is very important. God consciousness, God fearing, uh, pure hearted and simple. And there's no question of political diplomacy. So these qualities should continue even after we come in touch with Krishna consciousness. God consciousness, Krishna consciousness has to remain. We should remain God fearing, pure hearted and simple. We should not think that we have become very great devotees and then just ignore or do whatever we want. So we should be God fearing. We should be pure hearted.
Hare
Uh,
Krishna.
pure
Sorry,
hearted.
Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
This particular word, God fearing, Prabhu. Can you throw
Yeah.
some light? Because even
Yeah.
the Muslims are God fearing. They are very
Yeah.
God fearing. The Christians are God fearing.
Yeah.
I mean, when
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
they're not. I can't say they're not pious. Could you just throw some more light, please?
Yeah. 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 See, God fearing, first of all, the important part here is to have a clear understanding of the concept of God, right? What is their philosophy of God, right? See, we should understand that here, whatever Prabhupada is stating is the absolute platform, right? And here, which means with the absolute understanding of God and knowing that there are certain do's and don'ts that one should be concerned about and live accordingly, right? Follow his rules and regulations, do the do's, don't do the don'ts. Right now, when people have an incomplete or incorrect understanding of God, then their God fearing is with respect to their understanding of God, right? And it's all incomplete that we understand. Um, so it's not on the absolute platform. Their God fearing nature is not on the absolute platform. It's on some incomplete, it's on a platform of some form of some kind of understanding that they have developed about God. Um, so God fearing by itself cannot be qualified or cannot be defined without having a clear understanding of what their concept of God is. So the word or the concept itself is not wrong, but it depends on how we apply it. Right. So incomplete understanding results in an incomplete application, thereby maybe even erroneous in many situations. So we should be God fearing, but uh, we should be God fearing after having got a clear understanding of what God is and what He expects out of us. There's no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not very suitable for habitation. There's no cause for quarrel for this saying that land is not even suitable for habitation. Why are they fighting? And certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there's always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This we see even in day-to-day dealings. Little something, there's always a chance of quarrel. And this is because of lack of goodness, Yuga. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there is propaganda by section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. By section of people, yeah. It was there then, it continues today also. Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. This one, today schools, colleges don't want. They don't want to allow glorification of name and fame in the name of secularism. How crazy! I mean, and these are the places where our children are going and learning, and they want to remain secular. So what will happen to the what values will children develop? Therefore, there is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Now, see, we can read these statements and then just, hear it from one ear and leave it from the other. But those who are surrendered, sincere devotees, they will take it seriously. See, this is how Prabhupada books impact some certain type of people and doesn't impact certain type of people, though both of them are reading the same book. Because some don't take it seriously, others take it seriously. Mm. So when Prabhupada is saying that it is the duty of every responsible Indian, we have to take it seriously. And so we have to try to broadcast this transcendental message. Of course, if you are not able to do it throughout the world, at least let us start in our own vicinity, in whatever little span of influence we have, because that is the only thing which can bring good as well as desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work. There's so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. So Prabhupada tried to bring this to the leading men of the world. Unfortunately, not many people accepted. But still, he desires that Srimad Bhagavatam be distributed to the leading men of the world. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving God consciousness of people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail. And there'll be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in proper way. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. When there is fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors, who may be foreigners. And yet, without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves, and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values. Prabhupada saying it's a technical science which should be understood. And thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. So techniques means actually the principles that are underlying, right? Or the process that we have to follow, etc. And not so much about how well it has been written. As long as the message is clear, right? Message comes across. So it is very important that irrespective of whether we can communicate very effectively or not, as long as we can communicate simply in a very simple language, but in a very clear manner, that is what is required. So Prabhupada is saying it's not the language, how bombastic, how flowery the language is, but it's the technique. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there's no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. That is the rule of this age of Kali or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature, yet it is in the marketplace because people want it for sense gratification. People in general want to read. That is a natural instinct. But because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the correct mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy. But we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. See, systematic propaganda, which means preaching, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice like condition of sense gratification. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease. This is very important to do actually systematic propaganda. Systematic means even when we do any kind of programs, etc., it has to be systematic in such a way that people can actually understand. So, for example, so what does this systematic mean? We were thinking about what should be like. Of course, now many preaching areas have become big, so it's we are not able to follow Bhakti Vriksha system. So, what system should be followed? Um, so it should be such that the message is clear and not, and it's just deep enough for people to consume, right? Suppose say on first day of some new class, we go and say Sarvadharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. It is ridiculous. How is anybody going to understand that? So we might have to go through Bhagavad Gita in multiple times. So first time is maybe just the important messages, right? And second time, maybe, we'll go slightly more deeper and talk about all instructions by Krishna. And third time, we will go deep into the purports, right? But you will not do the third level reading first itself, right? So there has to be a system, there has to be thought process, um, which is why there also needs to be training. Mhm. I see when specifically this topic of karma yoga comes, even our devotees are confused what actually Krishna is saying. So many times I see classes being given saying that it's okay, keep continuing, keep working all along. But that's not what Krishna is saying. Um, so we have to be first understand the message, and then we cannot adjust it to our convenience, but we can make it systematic. We can make it systematic in such a way that we can give them only those that they can actually consume. But at the same time, we should not lie. We should not give incomplete or wrong knowledge, right? We might not talk about some topic. For example, we are not going to talk about Radha and Krishna, their love, because that's not going to be consumable, right? But we are not going to say some hodgepodge, right? Or some make up some wrong philosophy. We will not. We can give them only as much as they can consume. So it has to be systematic propaganda. And many times, I see also sometimes, because one verse of Bhagavatam is given for a class. Sometimes a preacher is not able to actually speak much on a particular verse. Actually, we should just go on to the next verse. It's not that we then go on and speak about something totally unconnected with the verse. That's not the intention. The intention of actually these classes are to help people actually understand what is being spoken. So the idea is that speakers should be able to pick up like few areas in the purport which are unclear and clarify them. And if there's nothing much to be clarified, then just go on to the next verse. Um, so it's because there is a requirement of everything has a system, right? We shouldn't just, oh, okay, I've been given 1 hour. They told me one verse, so let me just figure out what else masala can I add. That's not the idea. So everything requires a system, and system has been given to a great extent. We should just stick to it. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults. For it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. See, he has appeared in this chapter. It's like this. It's almost literal, that we are hearing about him appearing. That means he has appeared. So Srimad Bhagavatam. Last year I heard that there are few devotees who are been actually even this year. Some devotees came and told me that they're just going around distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, going to temples, inspiring, practicing devotees to take it. Mm. And it's so amazing. Uh, we feel that it's very difficult to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam because we just think about it from a money perspective, right? How much it costs. But we don't think about how valuable it is. So Prabhupada is so clearly explaining how important it is to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should all try. We should try in our own ways to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. Like somebody approached saying that they can't pay for the full Bhagavatam. We said it's okay. We will take up the cost. Some Shastradan we will collect. But if somebody is interested in Srimad Bhagavatam, they should get it. They should get it. right? So we should try and help people out. There are a lot of sincere people who want to hear. नैष्कर्म्यमप्यच्युत अपि अच्युत भाववर्जितं न शोभते ज्ञानमलं निरञ्जनं कुतः पुनः शाश्वतभद्रमीश्वरेण चार्पितं कर्म यद्यपि अकारणम्. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. Knowledge of self-realization, naishkarmyam, hmm, which is means it is free from material affinity. Naishkarmyam actually means here being freed from reactions of fruitive work, basically not attached to work. So it is free from material affinity. This itself looks very great for us, right? Oh, Naishkarmyam, he's detached. Hey, this is not great. This is not great because here it's being made very clear. It does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible. So that means that actually conception of God, Krishna, is most important and more important than just self-realization. Self-realization actually means realizing our relationship with God, but leaving that, just realizing that, oh, I am not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm just Atma, is not great. It's just a very beginning state. That's what, like yesterday we were discussing. That is Brahma Bhuta stage. That's not great. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature if they're not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? So here it is being said self-realization itself, like mukti itself, is useless, right? Or any kind of knowledge being talked about for self-realization is useless if there's no conception of God. Then what is the use of fruitive activities? The self-realization is above fruitive activities. That itself is does not look well. Now, what about fruitive activities, which is lower than this gnana marga? This is karma, right? Karma, gnana, bhakti. So, what is the use of these fruitive activities, which are naturally painful? We don't realize this. It is naturally painful. Actually, in fact, every suffering, pretty much every human being has, is because of this propensity for fruitive activity. That is what is there is a cause. And so we wanted something in our previous lives. We did something which was not necessarily acceptable. That resulted in our this life suffering. So it's all because of this fruitive action, wanting to achieve something for sense gratification. That is a cause for our pain and suffering. So it is naturally painful from the beginning, and it is also transient. After all that suffering, the fruit that we get is so small and so insignificant and so transient. Hmm. So what is the use if they're not utilized for devotional service? If somebody is having an attachment for karma, it is okay as long as it is used. See, karma arpitam. We have to offer the fruity work to the devotional service of the Lord. Otherwise, what is the use? Ishware, it has to be offered to the Lord. So if you are working, so this is Gnanis, the path of Gnana is also not great because it doesn't have a conception of the infallible, which is Bhagavan. What is the use of karma, which is anyway painful and transient, if it is not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? As referred to above, not only ordinary literatures devoid of transcendental glorification of the Lord are condemned. Not only ordinary literatures, even Vedic literatures and speculation on the subject of impersonal Brahman, when they're devoid of devotional service, that is also rejected. When speculation on the impersonal Brahman is condemned on the above ground, then what to speak of ordinary fruitive work which is not meant to fulfill the aim of devotional service? Such speculative knowledge and fruitive work, Nana Karma, cannot lead one to the goal of perfection. That is why it is Shuddha Bhakti is Gnana Karma Adi Anavrutam. Fruitive work in which almost all people in general are engaged is always painful either in the beginning or at the end. It can be fruitful only when made subservient to the devotional service of the Lord, meaning when it is used for in Lord's service. In the Bhagavad Gita also, it is confirmed that the result of such fruitive activity may be offered for the service of the Lord. Otherwise, it leads to karma bandhana. The bona fide enjoyer of the fruitive work is the personality of Godhead, and thus, when it is engaged for sense gratification of the living beings, it becomes an acute source of trouble. When we do things for sense gratification, it is a source of trouble. because that work is supposed to be actually for the pleasure of the Lord. But we become thieves by taking it for our own sense gratification, and therefore it becomes a source of trouble. And this is one, without leading a life of sense gratification. Second one is not having understanding of right and wrong. We end up doing wrong because that looks nice for our sense gratification, and that also results in trouble. So it's naturally painful. Karma is naturally painful. So when I came into Krishna consciousness and when I heard all this complexity, the how delicate, how uh, not easy to understand, right? Complicated this karma is, and that every moment we are doing karma without knowing what is right and wrong, it really scared me. I said, "Oh my God! I mean, what is going to happen? I don't even know how ignorant I've lived previously. I can't continue to live like that. But what is the solution? Solution is not is oh okay, all gnana we have to know, but that's also not possible. Can we know exactly 100%, whether what we are doing is right or wrong? That's also difficult. So then finally Krishna answered that in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and he says, Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam shanam vraja. Then I became very happy. He said, okay, now I'm safe, because now I don't have to worry. Right? Whatever I do, I just offer it to Krishna, and Krishna will take care of the fruits, the karma phala. Right? Otherwise, it's a very, very dangerous world. Padam padam yat vipadam. Every step there is danger, because we don't know what we are doing, what it is going to end up in, and what is going to be the result. Because it's not only the direct action output. I mean, it's also the it's not just the direct action that causes karma. Even if we are a part of that some karma, that also we have to suffer, right? Like, um, this whole, Prabhupada has explained now that meat eating business, one who wants to eat is also affected, one who buys is affected, one who kills is affected, one who cooks is affected, everybody is affected, just like that. So we become part of that karma. So it's very, very intricate and very difficult. So safest thing is to surrender to Krishna. Otherwise, this verse is here clearly saying, what is the use of all this karma if it is not utilized for devotional service? When gnana itself is considered not so good, when it lacks devotional service, because gnana actually doesn't give the result if there is no bhakti. Gnana by itself cannot give result. Karma by itself cannot give meaning achieving anything spiritual. That is why it is Gnana Yoga, Karma Yoga. Uh, but yeah, so the whole thing is anything and everything that we do, either Gnana or Karma, has to be connected to the Supreme Lord. Only then it becomes useful. अतो महाभाग भवान् नमोगदृक् शुचिश्रवा सत्यरथोद्धतप्रतः उरुक्रमस्याखिलबन्धमुक्तये समाधिनानुस्मर तद्विचेष्टितम्. O Vyasadeva, your vision is completely perfect. Your good fame is spotless. You are firm in vow and situated in truthfulness. And thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage. Your vision is completely perfect. Mm. Mahabhaga, you're fortunate. Amoga, perfect seer. Amoga Druk. Shuchitrava, you're very famous. Satyavrata, Satyarataha, you're firm in vow. And Dhritavrataha, you're also situated in truthfulness. And you can Urukramasya Akhila Bandha, Akhila, universal. Mm. So you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance. What do the pastimes of the Lord do? It will liberate people from all material bondage. So simply doing Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, we will come to Mukti. That's like a very easy side effect. But actually we want Bhakti, and even in Bhakti we want Prema, and even in Prema we want Madhurya. Prema, that is where the challenge starts. Right? So for the process that we are actually following, liberation is very, very easy outcome. Anybody can get liberation. We just have to stick to the process. So Prabhupada said most people will go to Swarga. So we have to be very careful. Going to Swarga means Mishra Bhakti. If we have desire for Mishra Bhakti, we will end up going to Swarga, which is mostly karma. If we have desire for karma and sense gratification, then we'll go to Swarga. And of course, I mean, we can continue there also, but danger is always there because of, you know, so much of sense gratification out there and our free will. So there's danger. Forget about Swarga. Even if somebody gets liberation, still there's a chance of fall down if he doesn't have respect for the Lord. If there's no bhakti in that gnana, then it'll also result in fall down. Mm. But that bhakti, that mukti is very, very easy by simply hearing about pastimes of Krishna. Simply reading Krishna book. Prabhupada said you will get Krishna prema. But if you simply hear about the pastimes of the Lord, mukti is achieved. It's not a big deal. People in general have a taste for literatures by instinct. They want to hear and read from the authorities something about the unknown. But their taste is exploited by unfortunate literatures which are full of subject matter for satisfaction of the material senses. Such literatures cannot contain different kinds of mundane poems and philosophical speculations, more or less under the influence of Maya, ending in sense gratification. So, whatever else we consume, whatever other literature we consume, apart from spiritual literature, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc., will result in end up in sense gratification. Simple. Any literature, it might appear good, better, you know, uh, whatever it is, right? It might look however it might appear, but it will end up in sense gratification. These literatures, although worthless in the true sense of the term, are variously decorated to attract the attention of the less intelligent men. Those attracted living beings are more and more entangled in material bondage without hope of liberation for thousands of generations. The Narada Rishi, being the best among the Vaishnavas, is compassionate towards such unfortunate victims of worthless literatures. And thus he advises Sri Vyasadeva to compose transcendental literature, which is not only attractive but can also bring about liberation. Srila Vyasadeva or his representatives are qualified because they are rightly trained to see things in true perspective. And they are rightly trained. This is important. We should be trained to see things in true perspective. It is Guru Sadhu Shastra. Srila Vyasadeva and his representatives are pure in thought due to their spiritual enlightenment. See, when we have spiritual enlightenment, we will be pure in thought. Till we have spiritual enlightenment, we might still be on the path of spiritual life, but we might be impure. But because he was pure, he was fixed in their vows due to devotional service and determined to deliver the fallen souls rotting in material activities. Mm. Srila Vyasadeva and his representatives are pure in thought due to their spiritual enlightenment, fixed in their vows due to their devotional service, and determined to deliver the fallen souls rotting in material activities. This is the qualification of a representative of Krishna. The fallen souls are very eager to receive novel information every day, and the transcendentalists like Vyasadeva or Narada can supply such eager people in general with unlimited news. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said we should be releasing a spiritual magazine every moment because there are unlimited spiritual universes and there is unlimited news from the spiritual world. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the material world is only a part of the whole creation and that this earth is only a fragment of the whole material world. So, this fragment of whole material world, there's so much of news. What about the spiritual universes? That's what Prabhupada is saying. There are thousands of literary men all over the world, and they have created many thousands of literary works for the information of the people in general for thousands and thousands of years. Unfortunately, none of them have brought peace and tranquility on the earth. This is due to spiritual vacuum in those literatures. Therefore, the Vedic literatures, especially Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, are specifically recommended to suffering humanity to bring about the desired effect of liberation from the pangs of material civilization, which is eating the vital part of human energy. So material civilization is eating the vital part of human energy. So if we just distribute Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the suffering of the humanity will stop. They will become liberated. The Bhagavad Gita is the spoken message of the Lord himself recorded by Vyasadeva, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental narration of the activities of the same Lord Krishna, which alone can satisfy the hankering desires of the living being for eternal peace and liberation from miseries. And everybody wants mukti, everybody wants manashanti, peace of mind. Only way is to read about Lord, read the message of Lord, read about activities of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, is meant for all the living beings all over the universe for total liberation from all kinds of material bondage. The transcendental narrations of the pastimes of the Lord can be described only by liberated souls like Vyasadeva and his bona fide representatives who are completely merged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Only to such devotees do the pastimes of the Lord and the transcendental nature become automatically manifest. How? By dint of devotional service. So these great devotees, because of their devotional service, the pastimes become automatically manifest. So it's not like they're hearing from somebody and writing. It automatically manifests in their heart. No one else can either know or describe the acts of the Lord, even if they speculate on the subject for many, many years. The descriptions of the Bhagavatam are so precise and accurate that whatever has been predicted in this great literature about 5,000 years ago is now exactly happening. Therefore, the vision of the author comprehends past, present, and future. Such liberated persons as Vyasadeva are perfect, not only by the power of vision and wisdom, but also in oral reception, in thinking, feeling, and all other sense activities. So, liberated persons are always perfect. We should not use mundane vision, mundane criteria to evaluate. That is why we cannot understand a Vaishnava. So, we better not comment on Vaishnava's actions hmm, because they are perfect. Why they are perfect? Because they are, yeah, Prabhupada answers. A liberated person possesses perfect senses, and with perfect senses, only can one serve the service sense proprietor, Rishikesha, Sri Krishna, the person who got it. Because they're always serving the perfect Supreme Lord, their senses are perfect, and so their vision is perfect, everything is perfect. Hmm. Well, Bhagavatam, therefore, is the perfect description of the all perfect personality of Godhead by the all perfect personality, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas, poet in Srila Prabhupada. Just perfect, perfect, perfect everywhere. Perfect description of all perfect personality by the all perfect personality, Srila Vyasadeva. Okay, so we'll stop here. Any questions, comments? Okay, stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatrupishta Kripa Sindhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Then
Hare